Welcome to another episode of Pats in the Past. This week I'm joined by another one of my former teammates, Killian Brennan. Killian, before we start, I was just saying to you there, Pats in the Past, this name was given to me. Suits you perfect, doesn't suit some other things. Yeah. I think I'm going to change it from next week onwards, so maybe we might do a Twitter poll on that. But welcome, how's things going?
Yeah, all good, pal. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Pats in the Past, I suppose it'd suit as in players that are retired and finished in the game. But yeah, I don't know who came up with
that. The social media team. We put on the social media team. It's definitely a vote going out. But no, listen, it's great. We had a chat just before we came on. It's great catching up, and it would have been great to meet up in the likes of Richmond or somewhere like that where we can kind of reminisce and walk on a pitch and stuff like that and talk about things. But fortunately, we're not the most savvy technological people, the two of us. So
no. I suppose it is crazy times. It would be great to meet up face to face and have a good bit of banter. But I suppose we're even talking to our mates now. And Eddie used to it now, talking FaceTime, Skype, and people. So as the old book of seller says, it is what it is.
It is what it is. There's the first book of thing. Hey. Normally I start off when I've been speaking the last few weeks of how the boys got to play my Pats, but rather than jumping straight in 2013, like I know you a long time. We would have played the schoolboy against each other, and then you went over to the UK. I suppose the question that I wanted to say to you was, you came to us in 2013. You were probably, what's that make you? The guts of nearly 40, was it?
I can't remember what age I was. 13, so 7 years ago. So it would have been 29. 29.
Like an experienced player, but you just didn't come in as a 29-year-old who you'd been around, you'd done everything. What would have been like your kind of experiences to get you? Because Conan, and I'm sure you might have heard and seen it, and Clarkey and Chris and stuff like that, they would have spoke massively about, and that was a big turning point for us in the dressing room. We were almost the team that won in 2012, beating in the cup final. The likes of yourself and Conan signed, and I've said this to Conan already. Conan was a great signing and was brilliant for Pats, but you just kind of changed the whole dynamic of the place with your mentality, your will to win, and obviously your quality as well. Like what would have shaped you in that 15-year period going over to England, and then by the time you ended up with Pats?
Shaped me as a player, shaped me as personality. I suppose I was always the same growing up. Like I said, we played against each other schoolboy level. We played with each other in Ireland teams, and I think you'll probably always remember me as probably the same, like a little ratty kind of player where I wouldn't be giving up. And then obviously as the years grew, I grew into myself and matured as a player. And I suppose,
do you think growing up with brothers of the similar age, there's so much competitiveness? Do you think that helped? Because obviously I would know Ryan played against Gavin and stuff like that. They're all very much the same. Like there's almost like an arc to you when you go out and play, because. But then, as soon as the game is over, we're in the dressing room or afterwards, like, it's completely different.
Again, that's not wanting to lose mentality. That's, I suppose, growing up on the streets where you always wanted to win a game, whether it was a 5-a-side or 1v1. I always wanted to win. And I think that's kind of bled down in my family, but like in a lot of other families as well. And that's a great characteristic to have, I suppose, going in. And then obviously adding your different bits of qualities to whatever kind of game you have. But yeah, like where we grew up, I think you had to be tough lad. You had to be like, always wanted to have to stick your foot in. And I think if you kind of like, I suppose, shied away from that, you were gone straight away. You were fed to the Sharks. So it was always like, you roll your sleeves up and you try hard regarding what you had. Like I remember playing with lads years ago and they hadn't got a whole lot, but what they had was they had heart. And if you roll up your sleeves, and that's all you kind of want from a lad. Like I remember team talks from manager. That's all a manager expects from you. You know what I mean? He's the one that's putting you out there in the pitch for whatever reason he's putting you on the pitch for. But if you don't try, then you're never going to be at him, regardless of what ability you have. So I think that was always bled into me from an early age, and I kind of seen that in my dad as well, the kind of player he was. And then obviously looking at TV and looking up to players as well. So the kind of players that I looked up to was like the likes of Gerrard and Roy Keane's. So they're the kind of players that I wanted to be, and they're the kind of players that did roll up their sleeves and did love the clubs they were playing for.
Yeah, and like I suppose you were blessed because a lot of players that play the game, Killian, would have that characteristic, and that's great. And the quality doesn't come with it. You are one that was able to kind of produce something out of nothing. You have the quality, like a wand of a left foot, a pretty decent right foot. But it was that characteristic that kind of I would have known about from playing against you, and as you said, growing up and playing in different things with you. But like the first time I got to play with you was with Bowles. Your career when you came home from England was Dublin City and Derry and Bowles. Like that was a superb Bowles team that you played in. You've won a lot of trophies. And by the time I arrived with you, it was almost like Bowles were on its arse. Everything had fallen out of it. It was a completely different squad. You had, the big players who were playing for big money had all gone in different directions.
Yeah.
You stayed and played, like Owen Heary played. And I kind of remember looking, all of a sudden, you went from being a left winger or someone that was kind of moved out to the side into a key role in midfield. Was that something that you always thought that you could be, or was it something that you felt that now is the time, I'm just going to do this now, like, and that's it?
Yeah, well, to be fair, the team that we had at Bowles, you're talking about the likes of experienced players like Joe and Doe, Paul Keegan was after winning leagues with Drogheda, Stevie O'Donnell, Chrissy Turner.
Gary Deegan. Was Gary Deegan there?
Gary Deegan would have been there probably a year or two later, but no, I don't know if he was there at the time when I signed in 2008, but he did come in, and I can't remember where from. Was he at Shells beforehand? No, or something? No.
And then he just had Glenn Cronin was there. I know Glenn had a few in.
Yeah, we had Cronin. We had a good few midfielders. So not that I didn't feel like I could go in there and do a job, but I felt whatever Pat needed or wanted, he didn't need me in the middle of the pitch. And I came from after doing really well up in Derry from always being a left winger. So I was happy enough to always play there. But like you said, when I suppose when the country fell in its arse, and I suppose whatever happened, Bowles, they lost their money and they couldn't pay their players. So obviously players that were on X amount of money or of the contract ran out, then they obviously going to go and seek different employment, and by that is obviously signing for a bigger club, or not necessarily a bigger club for bigger wages. And that's just the norm in the league, as you know yourself. But I always wanted to stay. So what at the time, 2011, 2012.
2011. Sorry, 2000 and the end of 2011. Yeah, so the
2011. So as you can remember, I actually didn't even do a pre-season.
Yeah, you came in quite late.
Yeah, I came in late. So I was after being. I could have signed for Rovers that year, and I didn't. I met Michael, and I was actually about to sign for Sligo. I was down in Sligo talking to Cookie, and the agent rang me to say that I think it was Sheffield United wanted to have a look at me. Mickey Adams at the time, which they weren't doing too great in the championship. So I went over for a trial, and I think I went trial somewhere. I think it was at Coventry as well, somewhere else along the lines of that. And I suppose it didn't work out. So when I came back, I spoke to Pat, and I was speaking to Pat on a daily basis, and I just decided to take the hit and sign back for Bowles. Like I didn't want to leave Bowles in the first place. I never wanted to leave Bowles because we done so well. And then obviously you could see the massive changes from me coming in from pre-season to leaving at the end of the season beforehand. Like it was a total different overhaul of players coming in. The like yourself, Pricey, and then probably bled in with a load of young lads. And a little bit of experience with Glenn and Owen Heary. But look, to be fair, we probably even that year we've done better than I think most expected. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we got to the same final against Sligo, and we were decimated.
Sligo were a top team as well. I think I played I was injured playing that game as well. Like I remember playing that game, Tony strapping me up and sending me out. And they had a top team. They had Dow and Richie, and they had a top team.
Good side, all right, yeah.
And we done all right in Europe as well. We're never going to beat any of the top teams in Europe, but we done all right with what we had. But yeah, they were good times, I suppose. Like I said, the country was in its arse, but they were good times to be playing football. I suppose when's not a good time to be playing football?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. And then, suppose we finished up at Bowles. I ended up going to Patch. You went to Rovers. It's probably fair to say it's probably one of the places that when I look back here at your career that you just was it your face never fit there, or was it just? It was almost like you had that kind of
It was
nastiness and everything, and it was almost like they were like.
It was a classic case of a Bowes Rovers signing where they couldn't see through who I was. Regarding, like, I'd go and play 10 games and play really well for 10 games, and then I'd have one bad game and the boot could be thrown at me. I'd be made an example on, I'd be thrown under the bus. And I think anyone and any fans that I do know that knows the game would know that I tried 1,000,000%. And any of the lads or managers that ever played with me or managed me knows that I'm the kind of lad to roll my sleeves up when things aren't going right, whereas I was getting the opposite of them. And I can remember talking to you up in Tala before one of the games, and you were just going, this place just isn't for you. And I was just going to myself, like, yeah, right, but like, I'm not going to just give up.
Yeah. Do you know I was only planting the seeds. So
no, you were planting the seed. I didn't know if you were trying to get in my head before the game.
Probably a bit of both.
A bit of both. So, and I knew that as well. So, it's just, look, you're right, probably is. The face didn't fit. One of them was there. But I hate people telling me, or Rovers telling me that I didn't try, or he's lazy, or like he's got a bad attitude, because like that doesn't wash with me, that kind of stuff.
You know yourself, Killian. We played the game long enough. There's times where you come in, you know your own performance wasn't good enough and different things. But sometimes you can get stuck in a rut. Like, you were signed under the pretenses that, you know, I suppose Killian and Stephen Kenny were going to be reunited and all this type of stuff, and there was some that was going to go on. And like, Chris only said to me, I think Killian played left full today, that I got a couple of goals. And that can happen, and it just...
I didn't mind stepping in playing left full. I said, like, that's the kind of person that I am, as in, like, I'll be able to rise to whatever position that I'm put in, and Stephen knows he could play me there, and I think I might have played there 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, and I had great games. Whereas that game was, I think we conceded early from Chris coming in, having a shot, and I was just gone. I was just gone trying to look for goals, and then when Chris scored that goal, so I was getting in the neck, but so I actually looked at the video. I was nowhere near. I was nowhere near him. Yeah.
Where was Killian?
I was nowhere near him, because I think I was after breaking, and I'd passed the ball. We'd lost the ball. It broke down, and the ball played down the side, which probably I should have been there. Again, that's something that you learn, even at whatever age I was at the time, 28, 9-year-old. But like I said, I was playing out of position as well, and no better man than Christie to punish me.
But like, it's gas, because yourself and Stephen would have came in at the same time, and you know, if you look back now, we've got Stephen Kenny now as the Republic of Ireland manager, who's gone on to have unbelievable success. He was deemed a massive failure at Rovers after being somewhat successful in Derry. He went on to become the most successful, probably, Irish domestic manager ever in Dundalk. His face didn't fit either. So I think it was just one of those things. I think Rovers themselves were going through, maybe they weren't ready for that characteristic to come in. There was some big players in the dressing room that had worked under Michael as well. And when you come out with success like they did in Europe and winning a couple of leagues and stuff like that, sometimes bigger personalities coming into the dressing room, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, hold on a minute.
I don't know. I just think the expectancy there from what happened the previous year was through the roof. Like, they expected that to happen every year. Whereas, don't get me wrong, Stephen's come in and they've showed their intent, and they've signed the likes of myself and self. But there was massive characters in that change room. Not only me, I would.
They had built up the credit, though. So when something does go wrong, it's like, well, you know, Royce is here a while, he's here a while, he's here a while. Killian's only here. Killian.
I was, like I said, I was an easy target, because the lads were there a while, and they were quite successful in what they've done, and that's brilliant. But I felt then like I was always going to be the target. Like I said, I'm that kind of character where I'm not the top end of the character, as in the likes of the Royces and all them lads that would have been there for years, and idolized by the Rovers fans. And then all of a sudden, the pressure was on us to win games, and the pressure was on me, and the pressure, when it shouldn't have never really been on me. And I'll go back to what I said: if we're not winning games, the easy target is the player that's only in the door, and the player that was with Bowes. So that's the reason why. But I never took any offence to that, and I just got on with it, really. But regarding not winning games on the pitch, like I took that as a failure, as in we didn't win that in that year. We end up getting beaten in the cup final by Drogheda. Like realistically, you should have put Drogheda like clean out of it. And I'm obviously delighted for the three brothers that they went on to win it. Look, tough times I suppose, and up in Tala, it certainly wasn't easy the couple of times I was up there. But I enjoyed meeting some good people as well.
From an individual point of view, it was really tough time for you. All right, it didn't work out. But that kind of brings us into 2013, and this is where I suppose we touched on the journey and the little bits from Peterborough to Dublin City, the Bows and stuff in Derry. You then come and you land in your dressing room, and I'm not going to lie to you. We had you in the dressing room in Bows. I knew what character you was, and at the end of 2012. We became fairly close to kind of winning the league. We slipped a few points. We lost in Sligo in a great game, 3-2. We lost the cup final to Derry. And then you kind of sit back, you have your few beers at the end of the season. When you sit back and take it all in, you kind of, and I'm sure this is what Liam did, you kind of look around and you say, how do I get to the next level? What gets me to the next level? Like what either keeps you at the top or what gets you to the top? And like people were looking going, oh, fucking Killian Brennan. Like, you know what I mean? He's got his bows and he doesn't care. Yeah. He's gone where Liam. He's got flower overs and he's doing this. But it was a game changer for us. It was a game changer. We didn't sign a 21-year-old with promise. We signed a 29-year-old who's won leagues, won cups, and came in and at certain times during that season dragged us single-handedly by the scruff of the neck, and we just went like that.
A lot of the times you don't know if it's going to work. And I suppose when you look at that way, when you're explaining how well he's done the season beforehand, you are looking for the final piece of the jigsaw. And I suppose with me and Conan coming in, that they were the pieces of the jigsaw. But yeah, it is like when you talk about hindsight now, you did go on to win a league, and the year later went on to win an FAI. And to be fair, what Joe's saying about Liam, you sit down at the end of the season, how are we going to get better? How are we going to get that extra 10% out of this team? Look, we can keep this team, but we need to be able to add a little bit of quality and a little bit of guts. So from a manager's point of view, like Liam has to probably take a lot of credit for like going out and signing me, you know what I mean? So and to be fair, he gave me the reins when I went in there straight away to kind of say, I want you to do this and I need you to do that. And he just let me go and do whatever I wanted. And like I said, we had the nucleus there of what you had in 2012. That wasn't going to change. Yeah, pushing towards what you, and I suppose you will probably get an extra 5 or 10% out of not winning the FEI, the hurt of all that kind of stuff, the few points of losing the league, but have to outdrive you as a person and as a football club. And like I said, obviously me coming in would have helped another few percent as well. So, yeah,
it did. Like I remember Liam, and you know I would have been quite close to Liam. I remember talking to me and just saying, "Do you know anything about Killian?" I said, "Yeah, played with him, Paul. What's he like?" And I said, "Listen, he's exactly what we need in the dressing room, because you can only have so many times, and it's not about even in training and dragging people on, and it's just about planting seeds with other players." Yeah. Not letting standards drop, and there was only so many times you could keep going to that well without before it going dry. Yeah. So we needed characters in. Conan was able to do things on the pitch. Conan wouldn't be a leader in the dressing room per se. He wouldn't be, standing up and going to people. But Conan's performances on the pitch for those couple of years, especially with assists, there's times, and I had this laugh at Conan, there's times where Conan would do up for 75 minutes. Yeah. Someone else would get taken off, and we'd be all like, how is he still on the pitch? And then he'd score 2, assist in 1, and get man of the match for the last 10.
Conan was the type of player where, like, I love playing with Conan as well, because I always knew where he was going to be. Yeah. Because he was always going to put himself in a position where he was going to impact the game, score a goal or create a goal. Like, I could play a blind pass to him. Yeah, you don't. I just know he'd be there. Like, he would always nearly be on the end of it. Now, sometimes, as we know, Conan's touch isn't the greatest. So
that's a bit shin guard, yeah.
I'd be pinging balls 60 yards to him the odd time, and he'd go out and under his leg sometimes, But a lot of the times with Conan, he would do brilliant for us. He was fantastic for us as well. And like I said, he's the kind of players that you need in the change room. Well, he wouldn't be the one to stand up and say something, but at the same time, he wouldn't let his own standards drop. Whereas if there was other players letting the standards drop, you know yourself, it's a domino effect. A lot of players follow. Whereas I don't think he was the kind of player, and I certainly wouldn't be the kind of player to rest on my laurels, and I think he was as well, but not as vocal as me.
That was perfect because these were two perfect players for Liam. Liam was all about scoring goals. Liam would be, we'll win 5-4 rather than risk drawing 0-0. It suited him. He gave you that freedom in the final third to create something out of nothing. Conan, he knew from Fingal, but it just worked. I suppose, did you think signing, so when Liam meets you, do you believe that we're ready to compete? Like, what's going through your head? Do you think, is it Pats? I don't know. Like,
to be fair, I met Liam. I can't remember exactly. I hadn't got a whole lot at the time. I hadn't got a whole lot of options at the time because I was after turning down Sligo, and the year before, 2011 Bows, and then obviously signing for Rovers, and it didn't work out for me. There wasn't a whole lot of teams that was, I suppose, going to pay me the wages to play football. And that's like people are turning around and going, like, but there actually wasn't. Like, there was lads out there getting £100 a week to play football, and there was lads like, it was a crazy time. There was clubs only finding their feet. Yeah, literally only finding their feet. Back, only bouncing back. And to be fair, I was 6 months away from. I was halfway through before signing for Rose, going to Australia. And the only reason why I ended up staying is because the missus got pregnant with the first child. So I knew that I was staying, and I knew that I had to put my head down. And it was just a perfect match because when I met Liam straight away, I knew he was the kind of laid back person that I probably needed at that time. I didn't need like a headbanger. I didn't need something that he was just so down to earth. He was telling me what I needed to hear. And the fact that he went that close the year before, I said to myself, yeah, like, why not? You know what I mean? Like I said, usually I'd always would have had 3 or 4 options to bang it off, go home and sit down and go, well, this is the best option to this is the best option for that. But I got on great with him as soon as I met him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I knew straight away, and you could have the bit of crack with him. And then I knew probably most of the lads in the Pats change room. Didn't know them all, but I knew a good few lads. I knew Christy was there at Bowes as well, so you're after accumulating a good few lads as well. But yeah, like when I first came in, the first training session, there was Harry Kenny. Harry Kenny was the coach, at the time.
That's right.
I was going, we definitely have a chance here. Like, I never like, and then I can remember after about 6 or 7 games saying to myself, I was like, I have to play this down. We're actually going to be close to winning this league here.
Well, it was probably, and this is what I was going to come on to next, like when I was looking back at some of the key moments over the last few weeks with the boys, and I put it out about questions, some of the stuff that came up for you, we'll get to during so it won't be a question we'll actually speak about it. But the Sligo game, they come to Richmond, they're rocking 7 from 7. We had a couple of defeats. We got beat 3-0 by Rovers, and I went over that previously with the boys. We had a big debrief on the Saturday for a few hours. We sorted it out. You know, we then win a game, then we go up to Dundalk and we lose again. So we were 2 from 4, and it's like, right, we win a couple of games. And I suppose that Sligo game, they were champions the year before. They had beaten us in a big game. A few months previous with a big crowd in the showgrounds. They're 7 from 7. They're flying. They're not conceding. They're scoring goals. We beat them 2-0. You get the penalty, which it was the dink. Yeah, right down the middle.
I think with the Sligo one, like, even though it's that early in the season, 7 out of 7, they'd won the league the season before. Like I said, they were flying. They weren't conceding goals. That was like literally we win or I'd nearly say the league's over. That early in the season, I would have said they were steamrolling teams. Yeah. So we kind of had to put like a dagger into them. I can't remember a whole lot about the game. I can remember obviously the penalty. I can remember the dink. We were on top. We were on top of most. From what I can think of, we were on top, and we deserved to be. Like, we deserved to be. Yeah. And
I went over this over a few weeks ago. Like they were nasty, like, but good. Yeah. They were a good team. They had some great players. They really good, but they had like Danny Ventre, who would turn up to Richmond and get man the match walking off, and we'd be sitting in the dressing room going, he just booted the bollocks out of everyone. Yeah. Whereas you're in the midfield against him going, nah, no chance. You know what I mean? I remember there was a few tackles on Danny early in the game. He was down injured for a while. He was whinging to the ref, and I felt myself, right, this is starting to swing a little bit. Yeah. I think we were going to look wherever we get the penalty. Like, what's going through your head? Like, and from people that don't know you, right, and people who perceive they know you as fans think, listen, they love killers and they love this and stuff like this. This is just the type of stuff that it's a big game. It's 10 minutes to go, whatever it is. Yeah. 1-0, you miss and they score, you're getting slaughtered. You just don't care.
Yeah. No, like a lot of the times when I'm going to take a penalty, I don't know I'm going to do that until I actually do it.
Right.
Like there's not a whole lot going on up there.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But
The bungalow.
yeah, but now not all the time. Like I can remember doing a blow in Drogheda in 08.
Right.
And it was on the TV, and it was 1-1, and it was in the 90+ minute. And Nutty said to me after the change room that he was going to leave me a draw if I hadn't missed it. So
would have as well.
And I was messing. I was going, that's where I live, so I would be staying. You would be leaving me here. But no, like realistically, like if it was 1-1, I probably wouldn't have done it because it was such a big game, and I think that could have ruined our season if that had been say 1-1 or 0-0, and I was to step up to do that. Like I've gone up and missed penalties before, but I think if you go up and do something like that at 0-0, I think that I had that little bit of a cushion that was 1-0.
Yeah.
I don't know what minute it was. It was late enough, was it?
I think it was late, yeah.
Yeah, it was 90th minute. It was about 90th minute.
I'm not even sure it was that. I'd have to have a look, and that's probably my job. I should have researched that better. But I remember Guy Rogers getting up annoyed and booting the ball, hitting Conor Murphy.
I've watched it a few times, and I think Bisto was on the sideline with Conor Murphy, and we were all like, you all jumping on me or whatever, and then I just seen a ball hit someone on the chest, and then when I looked it back again, he went to kick the ball obviously at me. He wasn't happy with getting dinked. But yeah, I suppose that kind of stuff wouldn't have been through my head, as in, now I'm clever enough to know if I miss it, then there's going to be like someone angry there, and even your teammates are not going to be happy, that kind of way. But I just felt that it was the right time to do it and to show off a little bit. And like, I was only in the door as well at Richmond, so I wanted to kind of say, like, this is me. Not that I'm the man, but like, let's go here. Like, this is what we're about. We can rough it with the rough, and then there's a little bit of showmanship, a little bit of showboating, and like
we kicked on from there, didn't we? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, realistically, if I missed that, I chip it over the bar, chip it into keeper's hands. We could go and lose the next 2 games, and then I'd be getting in the neck. I'd be going, it's that Killian Brennan fella's fault after missing that penalty. Like.
But we did. We kicked on, and I suppose, like, you're right.
I think it give everyone a lift.
Yeah, it did.
Give everyone a lift. The fact that we bet them as well, like that, and we rubbed it in as well. Like, I just we kind of turned the corner, I think, after that.
We did, and do you know what? You're right, because we were well able to mix it, and if someone wanted to come for a battle, we were well able to battle. Yeah. We had a tough side. We like a back four there who was nearly ever present in myself, Graham O'Kenny, Connor. Yeah. No problem, tough enough, didn't really mind. We could act as full backs, we could defend as defenders. Then when you went into midfield, you had likes of yourself, Greg, Chambo, like players who, if someone wants to go,
you're not going. Yeah, exactly. You know, like sometimes I look at midfields and go, there's one player there that's nasty, and there's 2 that's not that nasty. I think whereas there's one that wants to have a goal, like you're going to be going for, like, there's 11 there, boys. Like, can you be running up from the back? You're not like there's. You knew you had your back. You know what I mean? That camaraderie came there as well. Like that knit just kind of came over time. Obviously on the training pitch and all that as well. It just felt easy. It felt easy then. When you start winning games, it felt easy for us.
Remember the time we went into training on the Saturday and Liam called me and you into the office, into the room, and he slaughtered us for having a go at, and was it Derek Tomney? Remember the 2 of us?
Oh, the 2 of us, that picture, yeah.
The picture in the paper on the Saturday morning of me and you.
Did we get moved or something?
Wide open with spit right into his face. And I suppose...
bet you blame me, didn't you? You were like...
it would be like this and that, and you need more respect, and we don't do this here. But me and you walked there just kind of going, this is what's going to take. Like, we knew exactly what we were going to do. We took the rap and the knuckles off Liam, but the following Friday we would have went out and done the exact same thing.
Yeah. Oh no, 1,000,000%, 100%. Like, I can't remember that game, but we were probably winning about 3 or 4-0, and we were shouting at the ref.
He probably
knowing me, we were winning 8-0, and I was still shouting at the ref and the linesman. So it wasn't mad.
We were giving out about something. Yeah. But then, like, that season, Killian, right? There's some big moments. Obviously, the Sligo game, the Cork penalty quite late on.
That was massive as well.
Yeah, that was really.
That was the force feel of, I think everyone thought.
Well, that was last minute.
This is going to be our season.
93rd minute.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I won that penalty as well. Yeah, I remember that.
You did. You started, got the penalty, you scored. I remember thinking to myself, right, we're on a serious crusade here. Well, just getting back to what I was saying, we were nasty and we were well able to mix it. We played some football.
We absolutely slaughtered them off the pitch. I remember watching that game. I don't know if it was that night or the next night or something. it was one of the nights after. I usually watch the games or flick through them the night I come home from the game. I mightn't have come home that night from the game. I couldn't tell you. It might have been the night after. But I think it was Felix Healy that was doing the commentary, and like I didn't watch the whole game. Like I said, I just flicked through little bits and that. But he was like going, like we absolutely smashed them off the park that night. It looked like that wasn't going to happen. And then when you obviously get the penalty in the last minute, there was no thinking that penalty, by the way. Like you're talking about 0-0 that game. Like that's such a massive penalty. Like people remember the dink, but like I'd nearly always remember the Cork one, and I can remember the celebrations, and I can remember the fans coming on the pitch. I think that was the kind of first thought where we've got that little bit of luck, as in getting the penalty and scoring in the last minute of the game. Is this going to be our year? As a player, I think I kind of knew early enough in the season where we're going to be really close, but I think it planted a seed in I suppose supporters' heads where we're going, like, this is going to be our year, or it's going to be close.
I think you're right, because that game was wave after wave of attack, and I remember we had a lot of the ball out right, crosses, little combinations, doing loads of stuff, and I remember running back in when they were for a goal kick or something, thinking, how are we not scoring here? Like, but there was always a belief that even when the ball goes up 3 minutes, that period of 2013 and 14, and I played football for 15, 20 years. I always remember Stephen Kenny as well in Derry. He always had a knack of late goals. It's almost like there's a belief in the group. And even when the bar goes up, and I've also been in teams when you're drawn 1-1 or 1-0 down, and there's 10 minutes to go, and you're like, we ain't scoring here. That wasn't the case for that team. We were just like ruthless, keep going. And then when the penalty's there, you're kind of thinking, skip it, right, that's it, we've won, because you're going to score. That was another massive moment. Another one was, I remember one Friday night we had a game, but for every reason I think we might have been sent, or we had a game Monday and we had another game up in Derry. You remember that one quite quickly? And this was our back to stay ahead of Dundalk, and we ended up winning, and you scored a free kick. You remember that game? I was against Ger down to the dressing room end. And again, we went up to Derry, which we normally did with Liam. Liam had no fear about going to Derry because he liked the size of the pitch, and we got it down, we played, we done really well. We kind of rode our luck in the last few minutes, but I remember the celebrations coming home thinking, there's actually no stopping us now. You know what I mean?
Like that was like, they were all, like you're talking about games there, like they're all massive wins, I suppose, especially the closer you're getting to thinking that, you know, to the finish line. They're massive games, and like I suppose over the, like I said, the 15, 20 years I've been playing football, the hardest place to go and win is the Brandywell. For me, personally, playing wherever I was playing at the time, I remember playing in league winning teams at Bows and Pats, and we always, like, what was that, 1-0 that night? Yeah, 1-0, yeah. Like, you just don't win. You don't go up there and win 2 or 3-0. Like, you never do. No matter what team you have, you never do. So, like I said, that was another massive game as well. That was on the TV. I remember Darryl Kavanagh getting man of the match that game, and coming in, like, messing with me, saying, how did I get man of the match that game? But no, like I said, like, we had that many players. Like, we had loads of players that were just flying form. Like, I might have scored the odd winner here and there, but like from like 1 to 11, and not even 1 to 11. You're talking about the lads like the Kavanaghs and all them boys coming on. Bistos, all these lads. Like, without all these lads, this is impossible to even like fathom. Like, so, like, we had players, and it's not easy keeping players happy. We had a 16, and every single one of us were like absolutely at the top of our game. No, I agree with you, and it was great. And then obviously we go on, we win the league. Deservedly so. I thought we were by far the best team that year. I know Dundalk was close. 2014, and I've spoke about this at length. Like, the cup win was fantastic because we lost it in 2012. A lot of the nucleus of the squad were there. It's very raw. And then you have the history behind the club, and people think, oh no, you don't think about that. Of course you do. There was 7 or 8 cup finals that Pats had lost. The most recent one. Then all of a sudden you're playing against Derry again, and the difference, and you weren't there in 2012, the difference for me, Killian, was that 2012, anything that could have went wrong with the coach leaving, trying to sign players, bringing players into a different dressing room, the physio's dad dying, you know, injuries, Clarkey and Barry Murphy were fighting out for number 1 2012. Greg was playing. Greg goes in for a challenge in training, goes over on his ankle, couldn't even play. Jake Carroll goes off injured. It was just one of them games. Whereas 2014, I'm like, Fats, Greg, Fats had gone
started off the season, hit a bit of an injury, and then towards the end they swapped. Greg went back to the 6, back pushed up beside you. Used two were at it, were incredible. Conan and Christie were flying. They got like 25 goals or 50 goals between them. Gil Forrester on the other side was flying as well. Yeah. It was like
I kind of knew like where at, like going back to the Sligo game in the league game, like I kind of knew by keeping to myself that like we're going to be really close, but I knew that we were going to win that cup, and I didn't want to put the sploddies on it by saying, like, I wouldn't say it anyway, but like turn around and saying to someone, as in like we can't be beat, because that's like you're letting yourself down for a fall there. But I knew we were going to win that. I'd no doubt in my mind that there was something seriously have gone wrong for us not to win that year.
Well, it's gas. Ken O'Man in training, I remember this clearly. We were walking out to the Alsa, and the long walk out, and I remember just me and Ken were walking. Ken wasn't in the team; he was a sub, and he knew he wasn't going to start the final unless something dramatic happened. Yeah. And I remember this was the week of the Sligo game, and then we were obviously in the cup final the following week. We went down. We think we beat Sligo 4-1, and I remember Ken saying to me, "There's no chance the way you are playing." Yeah. And the team we have is going to lose that game.
It would have had to be in a bottle job if we had lost that.
If we have a man sent off in the first few minutes, even if we have 10 men,
Sean Hall was close to getting sent off in the first 5. So I'm trying to think of the whole lot and saying, like, how are we going to get beat here? Like one of them, like an OG, a man getting sent off. I'm turning around to Sean and I'm giving him the eyes.
Leave alone.
Just don't touch him. The eyes. I'm nearly going to go off to Liam and go, get him off, and I'll go back there. But he just needed a little bit of a breather because Sean was still very inexperienced as well.
He was, yeah. He came in, like we would have touched on that. He was brilliant. After Connor. He was brilliant. He was sensational. And like the likes of yourself, Pats and thing. It was just, for me, I felt reassured as a player when you have the likes of yourself there and there's someone like Keith Fatty and, you know, Christie was flying and Christie had a load of chances in the first half. He didn't take them. Yeah. He gets his 2 scrappy goals in the second half. He goes down as a legend. But it was just brilliant. And then we win the League Cup in 2015 in Galway. And then all of a sudden it's like, I remember having conversations with you in the off season. I think you were trying to get your deal sorted with Liam. Yeah. As far as
hard work, hard work.
Everyone had hard work at Liam. That's €10 over 50.
Oh no.
Well, it's you know what he's like. But I remember Liam was away on holidays. You were in Drogheda. I was actually my little girl was in hospital, and I remember it was a 3-way conversation because you had said to me Rovers had put in a great Nutsy had just taken back over Rovers.
Yeah, he rang me on holidays as well. Remember
he's after putting a great deal into me. Liam was kind of saying, "Oh, Killian, listen, we didn't win the league, and you know, Europe, but blah blah blah." And then I was trying to kind of push it through. I must say, in my Pat's career, it was one of the biggest disappointment things that you left. And you know, I tried. I nearly was begging you at one stage to stay, but
I look at that. I look at that in hindsight, and like I always got on well with my managers like Stephen and Liam and Pat. But I always had a soft spot, I suppose, for Pat, and I knew that he needed my help going in there. Not that it was any help, anyway. Looking back at it, we would need any help to each other. But I knew it was a massive decision to turn around and leave. But there was a couple of things that just didn't sit right with me at the time. I won't go into them because they're too personal. And I'd never fall out with Liam as in a personal and professional basis or level because he's an absolute diamond of a man. But yeah, there was a couple of things that just didn't sit right with me, and I wasn't getting what I suppose I was worth. That's what all comes down to in the end. And to be fair, look in Bowes, I never wanted to leave Bowes, and I never really wanted to leave Pats, but I ended up taking the decision to do it. And I suppose again, going up to that, it was the wrong decision. But
that's only in hindsight, and we don't.
Yeah, it's only hindsight, and things weren't all rosy as and Pats at the time either. No. So
things were getting a little bit for different reasons. There was just it was just starting to fracture a little bit. Listen, you'll have your opinion on a why, I'd have my opinion on a why. Yeah. It was just one of those things which frustrates me. I suppose
I felt the building process had stopped.
Yeah.
And I was going, if I stay, we're going to go. We're sliding down the hill here. Whereas I felt that Rovers, and Luke said, it's all about opinions, all about I can go to Rovers and we can go up and win things. And then if we don't, then that was a bad decision on my part, and it probably was. Whereas if I had stayed at Pats and could be still sliding down a hill, I could be going, Jesus, I knew I should have went there. Like, I should. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I suppose
it was a frustrating one, right? Because you're dead right, and it was just. I remember talking to Liam throughout the process each year, and it was like, right, we're going for a sign, and then we missed out on some big players like Paddy McElhenney. I genuinely thought he was going to sign at one stage. Robbie Benson. At one stage, actually, he looked like he was going to Cork, and then it was Dundalk, and then I said to myself, right, it looks like we're going to get him, and we just kept missing out on them players. Whereas 2013, we didn't miss out because we got you. 2014, we didn't miss out because we got Fats, and that's just the way it was. That you're right, the recruitment, whether that's the fault of the players that we were trying to sign, whether that's money, whatever it was just one of them things that we just.
You didn't get it right, but I wasn't far off being right.
Yeah, but I didn't think that Liam had. I didn't think as a group with the coaching and stuff like that. I just didn't think that we were right either on that front.
Yeah,
stuff was getting splintered a little bit in the dressing room with certain players. But listen, it wasn't at any fault. I'd never ever pinpoint, a player to say, right, you thought this, because that's just what happened. Me personally, I suppose, I was very loyal. I was very loyal to the club. Like I was similar. My best years, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it was, I would have turned down bigger offers to move to one or two other clubs.
Yeah.
But I was never. It would have took something astronomical for me even to come ahead. I just didn't even entertain it. I had finally landed at my club. Yeah. Okay, this is my club. I was earning good money.
You had that relationship with Liam though as well.
Yeah.
That you would have gone. There's nothing going to turn my head because like obviously you've gone on to do what you've had to do in the last 2 or 3 years. So that was always kind of your thing.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other lads that wouldn't have had that thing
100%
with Liam. So like there was like for me personally, I hadn't got that with Liam, but even though we had a good working relationship, we hadn't got what you had with him.
Yeah.
And
it's gas, Killian, like, the end of 2015, all of a sudden Killian Brennan's back on the radar again, and I'm like, Liam, sign him.
Doggies.
Sign him. You only got that low here, but
on low to Romans,
sign him, like, you know what I mean? And Liam, and without doubt, listen, and he won't mind me saying, and Liam was concerned. He was probably saying, can you reproduce what you done and this and that? And it didn't take, like 2016, we won the League Cup, whatever it was, didn't get Europe. 2017 then was just a disaster in terms of, we were in the shits. There's no two ways about it. We had to sell Conor O'Malley. Whatever it was. Yeah, 2018, whatever it was that we done.
17 was it?
17 was it? Just to get players in, because we got in yourself, we got in Garbo.
Yeah, that was halfway through that season. I was going for draw that year, and I was
had nothing in the budget. And it was almost like Did you break your collarbone in the first game?
I broke my collarbone first game of the season. That ruled me out. I think I only played 4 or 5 games for them.
Yeah, and then it was like, do you know what? I'm gonna bring him back because we need his personality in the dressing rooms. And I was on the other side of the fence. I was champion Liam. We need personalities. And sometimes people look at football and say, he's a poor manager, he's a poor coach. Sometimes, and more like it's about the players that you have. And we were able to bring in Garbo, who was able to lean on his experience from England, Geordie, who nobody knew anything about, and all of a sudden turned into a revelation.
Yeah,
we start winning games, we start picking up points, but that's where your personality and your will to win. Everyone's going to be, and all the questions today that people are saying to me, ask them about 2013. My biggest thing about as a Pats fan was that second half of 2017, because I thought you were, and I would have seen firsthand, you were incredible for us, and you were again struggling with bits and pieces. You'd missed loads of.
I hadn't played. I was probably my knees like
off. Coming out training where you were only going for a jog, but it was well, and I suppose. It summed up in the last game of the season. You run 70 yards, I think.
And nearly missed a tap in.
And that just goes to show, I think it was perfect. And I know fans will always remember you winning a cup and a league. But I think deep down, when the conversation gets a little bit, that second half of the season, you played a massive part in the club not being relegated.
I think a lot of fans actually realise that. They do realise that. They said to me, like you were a brilliant killer, like you come back in and you helped us stay up and blah blah blah. But like again, I'm not going to turn around and say it was just me or it was just Geordie. Like we had to. It was one of them ones where I just come in and Geordie come in and just gave everyone a little bit of a jump, and then we go, come on here, like let's go, like like what is like I come in and take the pee a little bit and go like how he is down here like he's making a show in a place and all like the Darius shout, you know what I mean? One of them ones. But like on a I suppose scale of like achievements, I would definitely have that up there.
Yeah.
On a personal level, I wouldn't expect anyone to go, well, he didn't win it in that year, or he didn't do this year, or whatever. But like, it was such, I can't remember. Like, I was the same set. There was 8 games left. I was like, oh, man, never going to stay up here. Like, we can't go down to Cork and win. We can't go here and win.
Yeah, Shane Duggan scored. Remember that goal in the 94th minute for Limerick, and they were nearly survived. We were in deep doo-doo. We had to win 2 or 3 of the last 5 or 6, wherever it was going to be. Then I ran him up afterwards in the dressing room. It just was one of them times. It was the only time in my spell as a player or coach with Liam that he probably something that he was so good at, of bringing out confidence in players, telling people what he wanted to hear, explaining to them how good they are, even when they're going through a rough. He tried. But it was almost like the group are like, nah, we're not believing you here, Liam.
But Liam never came across nervous.
No, never.
But like even last game of the season in Derry, if we lose that game, the club goes down. Like, I never actually got it off Liam.
Never.
That we're going to go down. And at the same time, like, say, for instance, we're an inch off winning the league or off the cup final. Like, his team talks never changed. And his whole persona never changed. So, like, with a manager, some managers, you'd really go, Jesus Christ, he's like panicking there, like, and that could actually stem and fly into a young lad on the football team. Yeah. It could easily happen. Whereas with Liam was just gone, he was cool as ice.
Yeah,
he was cool as ice.
Yeah.
And that's just the way he was.
I know.
And I think that did breed confidence into his team and into his players. And then obviously he would have needed the right characters, which Liam would have always needed the right characters.
Yeah,
to build, and he had that. And why not? Like, that's part of being a good manager, building whatever you need in your team. You have a flair player, you have a player that's rolled his sleeves up, you have a player that does this, you have a player that helps this lad out, you have a player that helps that player out, and then if it blends all together, then you have a fantastic team there.
No, I agree with you, and like it was one of them things. And listen, I'm sure if I ever, Liam speaks publicly on it, he'll admit, listen, it didn't go right the first part of 2017, but his man management skills and being able to identify those players
kept them in it.
Yeah, it was, and it was brilliant. And I suppose you played on for another, the 18 months when you came back to us. You played for 18 months for your second spell. The second part of 2018, you were struggling a little bit with injuries. The one moment that sticks out on me, Killian, that was coming back up from your warm-up against Rovers. I think you were after getting abused, spit at, stuff thrown at you, stuff like that.
Game,
and then you come on and all of a sudden there's another penalty.
But, like, when I look back at it now, that was my last goal. Right?
What a goal.
What a goal to go out on.
Yeah.
Got bottles and spat and whatever, but it didn't help that I was warming up with Tommy Bourne. Like, so
no, that does not help anything.
As much I'm a bit of a madman, like warming up with Hannibal Lecter doesn't help. Do you know what I mean? So we were warmed down by the Romans fans, and I've often warmed up beside the Bowls fans and the Rolls fans years, and you wouldn't be getting that much abuse. Like, you'd be getting abuse and all that, and you'd be saying stuff to you, but you might have a little nibble back every now and again. But I was getting spat at. I remember we had to go and warm up the other end of the ground.
I remember the stewards were actually, and it's the first time, like, normally you come back and say, they were sound, and that'd be the end of it. But it seemed quite venomous.
Well, the stewards didn't do their job that night.
Yeah, I know, you were going.
And the guards ended up having to get in or whatever. But, like, it was just a disgrace how they acted. But, like, at the end of the day, there's only one way to shut them up. And I got a chance to do it. And I can remember Tommy won the penalty and Conan was on the penalties. Yeah. And obviously Conan didn't know what I was after being going through on the sideline.
Yeah.
And I said, give me that now. And I can remember looking at Conan's face, looking back at the video, and he wasn't one bit happy. No. Mr. Gold wasn't one bit happy at all. And I said, give me that. And I was never going to miss it. And I don't know why the keeper actually stood in the middle. I don't know. He must have been watching the videos from 2013 or so.
Yeah, someone actually said that earlier. The one good thing about that dink, the dink in 2013 was that keepers always thought, well, I'm not getting done with this. So even if they did dive, they were only diving as a reaction, not as a proactive way. And
but that's what I'm saying. That's when you knew. That's when I kind of knew that I had to keep but nearly mentally beat. And I can remember doing it, and I don't know, it's always going to work, like same with anything in life. But I knew 2008 when I dinked the keeper that he was going to go early because I was at to scoring a free kick against him as well. So he knew I was going to go early. He knew I was playing well, and I knew he was going to go early. So I knew the thing could work as long as they hit the target. But yeah, that's, I suppose, the Rose goal. And then the celebration, the lads getting in. That was a good moment, a brilliant moment. And then, yeah, I suppose everything else is history for me, anyway.
No, I know. And I suppose, like, we had some good nights in Europe. Obviously, Legia away was the highlight when we talked to that group of players. Clarkey was there, Cohn and Chris. It was just incredible to go to a stadium like that.
Yeah.
Listen, they're great experiences, but you don't want to go there and lose 3-0. And we've done it before with other teams. I've done it before. You know, we went over there to Hanover in 2012. We put up a good performance, lose 2-0. Yeah. You think you're still disappointed, but I know the second leg didn't turn out as well as we hoped. But
we played really well. Remember that night?
We were like a minute or two away from, beating Legia Warsaw.
Yeah, that's disappointing. It was disappointing, obviously, not to win the game. And we probably did deserve. Like, we rode a look a bit early doors, but when we scored the goal, like, we played our way into the game. We nearly bossed the game then for a good 60 minutes of the game. Like, we done really well because they started to take us a little bit more serious when we scored the goal. And suppose they didn't want us getting another one either. But look, we should have won that game. I was off the pitch. I come off for Shane. I come off. Yeah, I was down. I don't know what I done. I come off. I think it might have been a dead leg or something, and I come off, and Shane come on, and I can just remember being on the bench and then scoring the goal. Yeah. But I'm not saying that if I had been on the pitch, we would have won the game. But Shane, I was telling him after the game.
It's your fault, Shane.
It's your fault, Shane. But no, like I said, them games you look back and you go, yeah, we bet Legia Warsaw, regardless of what the second leg was. Like the second leg, like, I remember starting the game, I had 2 or 3 shots off in the first 10, 15 minutes and go, let's go.
And then Pats went through in a one-on-one and tried to kind of... Yeah. He didn't know whether to go around him, dink him. He done a kind of a bit of half a boat and it went wide. And then all of a sudden, I went off injured. Kenny went off injured.
Yeah, well, Ken O'Man, he was injured in the warm-up. It was one of them ones where you were saying earlier on, 2012, where the lads got injured.
Everything went
wrong.
That
was just like everything went wrong with us. And I think if we had played them in score as well, we would have beat them.
We've had this conversation enough over Europe. It's just obviously the regulations, but we were a different animal well, always felt like we were in
definitely. But, I know we've lost the worst teams in Europe in Inchicore than them, but I just felt that team with Fats, myself, Greg, and all the boys in front and behind, I couldn't see it. Now, like I said, they could have, and even in Tala, we were well in the game. I can remember me getting 2 or 3 shots off and Christie getting one. And I'm thinking, these are nearly sitting back off us and they want to try and get us in the break. Yeah. And when they did get us in the break, we felt the bits, and they kind of knew then they had us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was disappointing. It really was disappointing. But like I said, we would have been a different animal in Chicago.
Yeah. Just like for the last few bits and pieces, I suppose you played for some of the biggest managers and the best managers have managed in our coach in Ireland in the last 10, 15 years. You've played for some of the biggest clubs. What made Pats League? What was different about Pats League? What if you were sitting back in 10, 15 years time from now and people say to you, I talked about your career, what would be some of the stuff you say about Pats?
Well, it's a real family, isn't it? It's a real family orientated club. I got that as soon as I went in, and then obviously I was lucky enough to go and win things after my first year there, so I was taken on board straight away. So I always felt the arm around the shoulder. So like, there's nothing better as a football player knowing that you're loved. Do you know what I mean? Of getting that arm around the shoulder, knowing like if you make a bad pass, like they're not going to be getting on your back. But there is a real history behind the club, where it's situated. Like, you know yourself, Ger. Like, I'm not a Pats man by any stretch of imagination, but I actually felt I felt like one. I felt part of it, and probably the only club where I actually did feel that.
Yeah.
Over the 15 years. So like, you're a Pats man. The likes of obviously Brendan is a big Pats man. So it'd mean a lot more to winning the kind of things that we did for them and their families. So I can just kind of, I'm trying to relate, as in if I was, say for instance, Brendan, if I was Brendan and Brendan's my dad, like the amount of, like, I suppose, how proud it would make you if I was a Drogheda man playing for Drogheda, how proud it would make my dad or my granddad to go on and win things. And it is a small club, like, you know what I mean? It is a small club, but it's a very hard working, tight knit club. And it was a fantastic club for me to play for. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Best moment, League, Cup.
The best moment, I would have to say, and I go back to the whole emotional side of it, and men that have gone on and seen Pats lose in 7 cup finals, I'd have to say the FAI Cup final. It has to be that. It has to be. Like, I didn't even know I didn't know that we were after going on and losing 7 League Cups until we were getting fitting for our suits. Like, I didn't know that. And I think it was your man that was fitting my suit at the time. And he said something like, don't come back here with another, like, you know, and I was just going, and I don't know who he said it to. I was like, have Pats lost their last 7? Because I was going, we're not going to lose this. And then I was going, like, you know, hammy. No, but yeah, like that was brilliant. And then obviously the celebrations, like, you look back at, like, I suppose you're winning things, but I always look back at the players that I celebrated with and gone through everything with throughout the year and all that as well. And that was probably the most enjoyable part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what?
There's no point being in the change room if you can't go in and enjoy a bit of crack with the lads.
Yeah.
Because, to be fair, I've never been in a change room where it has been like that. But that change room was like, that was different class, that change room.
No, it was brilliant. And I suppose it was just an environment that we were all the similar age, you know, we had a couple of young lads or stuff like that, and I think it was just meant them 2 years, you know, forget the League Cups a couple of years after, but those 2 years we were excellent, and we thoroughly deserved to win the league. They were 13. I think we kind of, hindsight is, again, we speak about that word. Yeah. We left a little bit behind in the league.
When you look at our league team in 2014, we definitely underachieved.
Well, we played better. Like, that's
we played better. We did play better, but then
scored more goals. It's just we bloody conceded more goals.
We just didn't put it together as well as Dundalk did. And then obviously Dundalk, with a force where they've shown over the last few years, then they've gone on to be the machine that they've been. They were supposed only building. But you're looking player to player, and I always do that as well. Like, I wouldn't have taken a whole lot of players off Dundalk to put in our team. They wouldn't have got in it. And I always do that. But that, like, you know, football, that doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes
you put players on paper, it doesn't work yet.
Yeah, exactly. What's the plans going forward now, Kenny? Are you going to stay in the game, or like this coach? I know me and you have had a conversation before on coaching. Like, is it something that will interest you?
I think along the line, like, I know I'm saying along the line, like, I've finished playing football now. The guts 18 months. 14. Well, I suppose January 2019. So it's not 18 months, but it's
close enough.
The guts 18 months.
Do you miss it? Do you miss the Friday nights? Do you miss
I got asked this question numerous times. I don't miss playing football on a Friday night. Like, don't get me wrong, I still play football with my mates on Thursdays, Sunday mornings, and all that crack. It doesn't give me the buzz of going in training. My buzz was going in, the buzz of training, and then that was the little bit at the end. I suppose that was your bit of cake on the Friday night. That was your treat on the Friday night. But, like, I'd swap the Friday night for just going in training with the boys Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's where I got my buzz. Yeah,
on the exact same, Killian. Like, I know some people are different, and we're all made different and stuff like that. And some people say, "I'll play till as long as you can." And for me, I don't miss that. And maybe it's the whole regimental stuff side around of having to eat at a certain time and what to eat, and taking the stress upon yourself. And like that, you don't play well and you lose. And who am I marking this week, or what am I going to do? But I do miss going in. I do miss the WhatsApp. I miss the fact that you know, you're worried about what you're going to wear going into training, and I'm worried about who you're going in thinking, right, who's going to turn up looking. You know,
you've done it for that long in your life. That's the professional in you as well. Like, you're always kind of. It's the same as anyone. Like, we're in the lockdown now. Like, people haven't worked for 2 or 3 months, and they're dying to get back to work. So you know, like, that's a percentage of what we're feeling. You know what I mean? That's a percentage of what we're feeling. So I do miss that. I don't necessarily. Don't get me wrong. I do miss going out, putting the jersey on, going in for, like, being able to strut my stuff on the pitch. I do miss that. But what I'm saying is, I don't miss it as much as going in, having the laugh with the boys, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for me.
No, of course.
Along the lines of coaching, that, like I said, I'm still quite young, like 26, like, just kind of sitting back and wondering, am I going to fall into something, or going to have to get up and do something? I'm coming to the stage now where I'm going to have to get up and do my badges to go and really think about what I'm going to do. As in, when I first retired, I had no interest whatsoever. But I think I actually might have, because the team I'm playing with at the moment, they've young lads in, so I find myself helping them out as well. I think
you always did.
Yeah,
you always
I think it can kind of
I mean?
add to that kind of stuff as well. But it is a long process. You know, Ger, you're after going through it all now as well. You're at the top end of where you need to be. It's a long, hard process, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. And you know what? It's not a race. And the thing about it is, I know we have spoken about stuff in the academy and stuff like that. And please God, we'd love to get you down and in and around and working with players, because to have, you know, to be a 14, 15-year-old to kind of stand there and Killian Brennan showing them this, or what way to move off the ball, or who to look for at certain times. And it was something I was going to say earlier on, but actually jumped out of my mind was, like, our academy players now, I remember you back as a 15, 16-year-old, you wore that kind of, and I don't, like, the question's always saying, the biggest moaner, but it's not a moaner, it's someone that just has, you know, wants to win and has that will. Yeah. Our young players, I'm not just talking about Pats, because we've been very successful and they are winners at the moment, but our young players have to learn that they can't be delicate flowers as well. You have to fight fingers, you have to demand more. And you know
so
what?
hard. It's so hard this day and age.
Yeah, and you know what? Having you come in a few nights a week and abuse them.
That'd scare them. Like, that'd be like realistically going, like the head teacher's in tonight job, one of them ones, you know. So make sure, but like that, like, kids have to have that as well.
You have
kids have to have that. Like, why aren't your boots clean? Like, that's still old school, but at the same time, they're the little things. Like, when you go to England, like, they're the small little. That's a small little professional, like, having your boots clean or something along the lines. Now, players will learn as they grow older, but like, but having that before they go over, and other little things as well. Not just having your boots clean, but like loads of other little things, would help them. Yeah. And not just if they go on to play football, or they go on to an office job. There's a lot of things that would have helped me and have good traits. Yeah. Like, you know, like, never being late for one. Like, I'm like, unless
we're always like that.
Unless there's M50 traffic, like, something that killed me was being late. But the reason why I found out from being late is because if you are late, you get hit in the pocket. So if you get hit in the pocket, now I'm not, this isn't, like, I suppose, down to 14, 15-year-olds. But
it's a mentality. You have to have
be able to give them that mentality, and it's such a fine line nowadays where giving a young fella a bollocking or putting an arm around them, it could be vital. Yeah, absolutely vital to them growing up. So that's something that I could bring. Definitely, I feel I could bring something.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll speak more, and let's, like, I want Pats fans to, you know, we want to be putting something out in the next year or so with Killian Brennan. You have to finish with playing them Thursdays and Sundays at the mates first.
Yeah, well, look, this lockdown crack.
You won't be able to play after that soon. I'd say you're after putting away some grub now in the last few weeks.
I just weighed myself. I probably only put on about a stone since I stopped playing. I wouldn't even say a stone. You know me, Ger. Like, I'm like that there.
Great help. Well, come here, listen. One of the best players that I've ever certainly played with and against, Killian, and for many reasons, not just your technical ability, your tactical ability, but everything else around the place. And, you know, certainly an absolute League Boy legend, but more importantly, from this point of view, a Pats legend. You'll always be welcome. And you can see the response that I would have got today from social media just when your name is mentioned. It's incredible. So thanks very much for joining me. It's great thinking back and talking about some of the things, and let's hope we can catch up very soon.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ger. Top man.
Problem.
Legend.
Okay. Take care. Okay.
Bye-bye.